Hey guys, TreeBark here, and today I want to do a behind-the-scenes look at how I make my movies from start to finish. So to begin, we have to start with how I even get the ideas. Sometimes the ideas just pop in my head, other times you guys may suggest the ideas to me, in which case I'm very grateful for that. Other times I'll be watching a movie or a show and I actually get the idea from there, and I will use parts of that in my movie. So here we are seeing different examples of real-life movies that I was inspired by and decided to implement and incorporate that into my films. Some of these, like Top Gun, I decided to do a one-for-one recreation. Others, like Dunkirk, I decided to incorporate aspects into my film as I saw appropriate. So now I have the idea, but the next step is actually how do I create the film? How do I film it? The first step for that would be to create the set. Now, if it's on the ocean, I would create an ocean background using blankets or an inflatable mattress, something that gives it an ocean feel, in which case I can move the ships on and it doesn't feel solid like Lego bricks as if it was on land, on the ground. So here we have B-roll footage of me actually creating my D-Day set for my D-Day film. And you can really just see how long this took. It took, I think, like a week for me. And you can watch the sun throughout it. The sun actually moves across the room as I was filming it. And then here, the main movie that I want to talk about and center this behind the scenes around is my syncing of the Yamato movie. So we can see one of the rigs that I used to hold the airplanes up in the sky. Airplane movies or anything aviation is always the most difficult when it comes to filming stop motion because you have to actually have the airplanes appear in the air. You can't just have them sit on the ground like a car or a tank. Here we actually have to suspend it, so there's a lot more rigging, a lot more special effects, and it's a lot more complex in terms of both filming and editing. So we're going to be following along as I created my Yamato movie. And so here we just have some background, more B-roll footage, just showing the process of how I actually do stop motion. This is a really simple example of just moving an armored car around, but if you're doing something more complex, like I'll show you in a moment, it can take weeks to film, like even just a 2 or 3 minute thing, because you have to move the vehicle or whatever your object is extremely slowly and at such small intervals so it looks smooth and it looks realistic. There's so many factors that go into it that actually make it look like the physics in your video are realistic and it's not just an obvious, oh well, it's like Lego. You want to give it that realism. And so here you can see me filming my Yamato film. And once again, you can just watch that sun. The sun literally moves faster than I can animate. The sun's just going across the room. And you can see that with each airplane, I had to move it very slowly. And actually, I would twist the propellers on each aircraft. So that was 2 main points of contact. For something like, say, having a Lego minifigure walk, that's like 5 or 6 because you got the heads moving, the legs are moving, the arms are moving. It's just so many different elements that you actually have to animate. So that all takes an incredible amount of time, incredible amount of patience, which is part of what makes stop motion very involved, very advanced, but also very rewarding when you finally see your finished result. So here you can see what the Yamato raw footage looks like. With no special effects added to it. And you can see all the rigging that's used to give the illusion of the airplanes actually in the sky. And we will go through the process of how I turn this raw footage into actually the airplanes looking to be really flying in the air. So now this is the first of my editing stages. This is the masking stage for any type of blue or a green screen. What you have to do is any sort of rigging or anything that you don't want to be in the final image, you have to cover that up with like a, say, blue or green color. And this, I would do it by hand, and I had to go over every single frame. I would have to sketch around the aircraft, because otherwise, if you were to just copy and paste the same image over and over again, the same like blue mask, you would then cut up and cover parts of your image that you actually want to keep. So you have to do it frame by frame. And as you can see at the top, this video, the Yamato, it was 1,400 images, 1,400 frames. I have to go through one by one and ensure that all the rigging was covered up. And as you can imagine, for something like these images here, that would be very advanced, very time-consuming, very hands-on. And so now we see the B-roll footage of the same images, but now with the green screen added onto it. So all the rigging has disappeared, and behind is just big blue and green coloring, or just completely erased with a clean background applied. And so this blue or green screen, this is what will then be removed digitally to create the ocean background or sky background to make it look like the airplanes are in the air. And although I do not have the original editing from my Yamato film, I do have the editing background, or like the editing image of my Titanic film, which I had done the other day. And this is actually, believe it or not, this is a simplified, this is much smaller, it's much simpler, this editing here for my Titanic movie, because a lot of stuff I was able to use from the actual film. Oftentimes, if you're doing something like a battle, you have to get a bunch of different explosions, a bunch of different small little 1-second clips that you have to put in and arrange perfectly aligned. And then you also have to go out and actually find all of those on the internet. So once again, that takes hours, days even, to edit. And there's many different stages. As you saw, there's the audio, and then there's also the green screen up at the top where I would be adding that to create the background. And then here is the final result of the Yamato footage. Now with the green screen applied and special effects like explosions and guns exploding and shooting at each other. And also it's like cropped, so it's in the 2.35:1 aspect ratio, so it's a bit more widescreen, and it cuts off some unnecessary tops and bottoms of the image that wasn't either necessary or actually wasn't part of the image. Like there was like a chair or like just the regular floor that I didn't want to see. And then here we have our comparison of each stage of filming, from the original rigging to now it being masked by the blue screen, and then the final result. So I hope that this was a very informative and very brief overview to give you guys an understanding of what goes into creating a single film. And again, this Yamato movie, as it was an aviation film, it was much more intense. This took me about a month to film, and that was during summer, so I was working like say 8 hours every single day to produce this single 2-minute long film for you guys. But if you want to see more examples of behind the scenes, you can look that up on YouTube. There's guys such as JD Brick Productions. He has done behind the scenes for most of his recent films, and those go into much more depth, and you can really see just a whole lot about how they do it. So thank you again for watching this, and have a great day. Bye, guys.